Hi, everybody. This is Dean at the Film Odyssey podcast, and unfortunately, this episode of the Film Odyssey, talking about modern times, the audio's a little trash. There was something that went wrong with our audio equipment. We didn't realize until after we finished recording and going through it. It sounds a little rough. Sorry about that. Hopefully, by the time it gets to next week, everything should be solved. But still listen to the episode. It's pretty fun. Hope you all enjoy. Have a great week.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Odyssey podcast, where me and my brother trek through cinema on a quest to find the best film ever made. And this week, we're talking about Modern Times.
A Charlie Chaplin film. Directed by Charlie Chaplin.
Starring Charlie Chaplin.
Written by
Charlie Chaplin. Music by Charlie Chaplin.
Yes.
Alright, so how did you feel about this one?
It felt like it felt like going to like a museum. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, but that's how the movie felt. It felt like going to a museum. And not a particularly interesting museum, but one that's like, significant.
It's a fascinating movie because it's Charlie Chaplin, arguably the most famous movie star to have ever lived. Like, he'd be in like the top 10.
I guess top 10. I'm like most famous.
Well, I mean, he's one of at least. I mean, Charlie Chaplin died, what, like 50 years ago, 60 years ago at this, actually, probably a lot longer than that. And the fucker is still, like, known today.
Well, yeah.
The tramp, the little Hitler mustache. Granted, the mustache comes from, other reasons why that's famous.
Yes.
But, it's weird, because it's the first Chaplin on the list. Yeah, I don't know if I liked it.
Really?
Yeah, like, I'm usually...
I liked it. But, like, just kind of barely, like...
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's... You know how I use the bar of the Yankee Doodle Dandy bar, right? And I'm like, this is about as good in some places. So. Yeah, it's one of those things where... Like, it might just be a thing where I don't think this is primo Chaplin. Because I've seen, like, The Great Dictator, which I think is one of the best films he's done. I've seen, like, The Kid and a few other Chaplin movies. And this one, I'm like, I understand why it's here, but I don't know if it's, like, his A-plus quality work.
So you understand why it's here. Why is it here?
It's technically the last mainstream silent film ever made. It's the last film to ever use silent film conventions like title cards. This is the last film that uses title cards in Hollywood.
I see. About 9 years after the advent of sound film.
Yeah, because this comes out in 1936, sounds established in 1927. And also, this is actually the first time we ever hear the tramp, the famous, Charlie Chaplin tramp character ever speak. That's his song at the end where he's singing in gibberish. And it's a really interesting movie because also, like, the sets are really cool. Like, the factory's interesting to look at. It is very much an arturist vision of Chaplin, and it has commentary about, industrialization, hardships going on during the Great Depression.
Yeah, the current political landscape of the United States at the time.
Yeah, so it's an important movie. I appreciate it as a piece of art. But like
watching it,
there's long chunks of this comedy that kind of just fall flat for me. I ain't gonna lie.
Well, yeah. I mean, I got a couple of chuckles out of it, but that's like about it,
Same. There's a couple of bits that do still work. It's just, man, like some bits just keep going, and going. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's no Marx Brothers movie.
It's no Marx Brothers movie. Granted, they had sound and.
Well, this movie had sound.
Well, yeah, but there was like three Marx Brothers.
It had mostly. It was a sound movie in like my description, but this would be a sound movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think calling this movie like a silent movie is kind of like a misnomer.
It is a little disingenuous.
It's a little disingenuous. Sure, it uses like the title cards for some of the dialogue, but there's dialogue that's totally sounded in this movie.
Yeah, there's synced dialogue, there's full score, there's sound effects, Foley, there's sound in the movie, but
it's all stripped down.
Yeah. I mean, it's still using silent film conventions, the
Yes.
pantomime, the title card, things like that. But it's like that weird transition, right? It's the last of the dying breed kind of thing.
It's like really trying to hold on to the which I guess is its own commentary, right? It's trying to hold on to the silent movie after the silent movie is dead and gone.
Yeah, well, that was actually Charlie Chaplin's thing, because he held on to like silent film tropes and all that stuff, because his philosophy was, if there's no sound, then anybody can watch my films.
Yes.
Which is very
That's
true.
accurate, yeah.
Yeah. And he said, well, once it becomes sound, then I become blocked into whichever language.
You know what's a funny thing where you could look at that is that this movie is particularly American, dealing with like American political climates at the time of the 1930s. So it doesn't even necessarily follow for that. The themes of the movie are not as universal as Charlie Chaplin would have you to believe.
Yeah. I mean, the whole theme of, workers' rights and rapid industrialization, I feel those are universal.
Mostly.
Mostly, yeah. There's the nuanced things that come up, but, it does have a universal thematic element to it. And I think that's, like, the fascinating part of the movie. But where do you want to get started with this one?
Well, let's just go over things we liked, This is usually where when we come to a movie where we're both kind of like,
just like
Like, this is usually where we start with these movies. Well, let's go over things we actually liked about the movies.
All right, what did you like most about the movie? Give me your top 3 favorite things about the movie.
So I liked the sets. The sets were really good.
Oh yeah, the factory is great.
Yeah, that's probably one of the better things about this movie. The factory, like even like stuff like the jail and like the lumber yard, or I guess it's like a shipwright.
Yeah, it's a shipyard. Yeah.
Like those sets were pretty good. The like shack in the middle of nowhere. I liked the inside and the outside of the shack. I thought it looked really good. The score I thought was really good.
Yeah.
And the costuming I thought was good. I liked the costuming.
You liked how
Paulette Goddard.
Paulette Goddard. You liked the little like dress thing she wore and no shoes.
Well, I commented on that during the movie. I was just like, maybe it's like, whenever a woman shows up shoeless in a Quentin Tarantino movie, it's because the director has a foot fetish. Charlie Chaplin was the director here. Coincidence?
I think not. I do think it's just one of those things where this woman is stealing all the fucking time. She couldn't steal a pair of Chuck Taylors.
Oh, God.
What the fuck? But yeah, no, like the costuming is really nice. Personally, I agree with you. Like the sets and the score are really good. I would probably say I really like the performances of Chaplin and Goddard. I think that those two as our leads are really good. Granted, I think Charlie Chaplin is still in the old silent fool shtick, but in the scenes where he needs to try, he's really good.
I think Goddard does a better.
I do think Paulette Goddard's carrying all the scenes she's in.
Yeah, I think she does a much better job of like that transitionary. Like the people that are watching the movie understand sound and films, while Chaplin is kind of like still too far back from that. Where Goddard kind of understands like more of like the current iteration of like acting in the film.
Yeah.
At this time point, while Chaplin is still a little behind.
Yeah, like Chaplin's acting with his full body, and Goddard's acting a lot more with like her face, and she's a lot more comfortable in like tight close-ups when she has to perform. And like that's not a thing like just spurching Charlie Chaplin's acting style.
It's just from a different time.
Yeah,
a quick time, by the way. Like film moved pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Film moved almost as quickly as aerospace, or what's it called? As like airplanes.
Yeah. What
airplanes,
is it?
Though they move way faster.
you could have been alive to see the Wright brothers taking off and seeing a man land on the moon. You could have been alive for that.
Like, that's not even that hard.
It's not. That was like, what, 60 years?
Yeah, it's like, it's only a 60-year lifespan. You know, if you were born in 1900, like, oh, man. Like,
Easy. Charlie Chaplin literally did that. But
How old when was Charlie Chaplin born?
He was born the same day as Hitler, but 2 years before?
Hold the phone.
Yeah. So he was born in 1889.
Okay.
And no, that's it. Him and Hitler are like 4 days apart. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
And and he lived till like 1977. So he did live long enough to see the first plane take flight.
77.
He was 88 years old. Boy died in Switzerland.
Like you do.
Like you do. When you're rich and famous, you die in Switzerland.
When you're old, like, rich and famous, like, you know, you go retire to Switzerland.
When you're a classical rich and famous person.
Classical rich and famous person. That's where you go to retire, Switzerland.
But yeah, and it's... Actually, wait a minute. So he was born in, what was it, 1887?
1889.
89. So, how old was he when this is 1936? Mm-hmm. So he's 37?
No, he'd be 47.
47.
Yeah.
Wait.
47?
47? He looked kind of good for 47.
He looked really good for 47.
No. Huh. Good on him. Wait a minute.
What?
How old? Because Paula Goddard's character is supposed to be like how old is her character supposed to be? Because she's being tracked by the juvenile police.
She's probably like 16, 17, like something like that.
Is this weird?
Well, not for the time.
Randy's like, there wasn't even sound yet. Yeah, it was fine.
No, there was sound.
Yeah, not in Charlie Chaplin's world.
There was in this movie, and he
did the
score, I think.
He did do the score. He did music. He was okay with music. Just like talking, he was like, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, fuck the talkies.
Fuck the talkies. But it's... Okay, but yeah, so the movie, I do really enjoy the leading lady, and I like Chaplin's performances. Those are things I like to point out as being very good in this movie. And there's a few things, there's a few gags in this that I do think are really good. Like, one I like to point out is this, what is it, the automated eating machine?
Yeah, I thought that one was really good. That was, like, really, like, on the nose, like, you know, kind of, like, really ahead of its time, like, type of, like, gag.
Yeah, and it was also just, like, all the stuff inside the factory, I think, is the best comedy beats in the movie. And then everything else, once they get outside of it, is what's getting harder to keep the comedy going.
Like I think the prison and the jail,
yeah,
and the factory are like the best parts about the movie.
Mm-hmm. Once he's in the department store and the club, it just goes on too long.
Kind of whatever after that point.
That's when it starts getting a little tedious.
Yeah.
There is the one where he jumps into the lake. And the lake's only like 6 inches deep.
That one's a classic, though.
He's like, I love those gags. When you jump into the lake and it's like 3 inches deep.
Well, it's like the similar gag from like Bringing a Baby, where they jump into the river and the river's actually like 7 feet deep.
Oh, don't worry, he just wade across the river. It's low this time of year. Jump in, drown. It's like 40 feet deep. Leviathans underneath.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, like that is the thing. It's really hard for me to come to terms with the movie because it's not bad. I won't say it's bad. It's fine, good, really good in some places, but calling this a great movie is weird.
But you could call it a cornerstone of cinema, you know, like a pillar of cinema even, you know. This is kind of like a foundation point, you know, like if you would consider like cinema to be like one of those like old Italian buildings where you built the new building on top of the old one, you know, mm-hmm. where you just took the foundation of whatever was left, put a new foundation over that, and then kept going, you know, like they used to do with like old Roman buildings.
Yeah.
You know, like this would be like the top layer of the silent film foundation, you know, like
it is like the capstone, right? This is like pretty much the most famous silent film star putting his last touch on the silent film conventions before he's done with them. Because after this, I think he just goes back to making talkies, or goes into making talkie films.
Mm.
And it's a really just interesting film in cinematic history, but that's neither here nor there. Now,
well, that is kind of the point, though, of it being on the list.
Yeah.
is that it's
historical and cultural significance.
Which, I mean, it's got that in spades.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just kind of one of these things where you're kind of like disappointed by the movie itself, even though it does have all this significance to it.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike what we have with like Toy Story, which it's a similar thing where it's the very bottom layer of the new CGI films, it's that bottom layer of that foundation.
Yeah.
And, it's still a pretty good movie that holds up.
Yeah, I mean, French Connection, right? It's one of those, like, foundational things of New Hollywood and, like, the cop genre and the gritty, like, guerrilla filmmaking stuff. And it's still a good movie.
Yeah.
Easy Rider is another one. Easy Rider is a weird one, but it's still relatively a pretty watchable movie, even if it gets kind of artsy.
Yeah. But this one is kind of like, it's still watchable, but, like, I would not go back and watch this movie again.
You're not. This isn't the Marx
like,
Brothers.
Why would I? Like I think I've seen enough here.
Randy was done after the prison scene and the nose powder.
Done. I was that was a good gag though.
Just the word really nose powder in quotes.
Just that on the title card was a good gag by itself, And then
Charlie Chaplin is like, oh, so let me put this shit on everything.
I think it was supposed to be sugar.
I made whatever he did. He poured that shit on everything. And he was.
He's using like ice red hot. I put that shit on everything.
Dude, he started looking like a Nature Boy Ric Flair. Woo!
Woo! That was so good. That was a good, really, really good gag. I thought I think that was like the like funniest part of the whole movie. That gag with the nose powder and him kind of like wilding out like was probably the best gag in the whole movie.
Yeah, and it kind of led to a plot beat where it leads into him being so like wigged out he gets out of line and goes the wrong way, and then when he comes back he's able to break up a fucking basically prison break
into what I considered another good gag in the movie, which was where he's like on like the comfy cell with like the nice bed and like a radio.
Got a picture of Abe Lincoln on the wall.
Picture of Abe Lincoln on the wall. And then he doesn't want to get kicked out of jail, or he doesn't want to get let free.
He's like, jail's nice. Like I got 3 square here. Whole house over my head. Wait a minute, that's a commentary.
It is a commentary.
Prison is better than being poor.
Well, prison's better than being homeless.
Yeah. But so there are parts of the movie we like.
Yes.
What stuff we did not like? Was there something just out the gate you just didn't like? Maybe one thing you were like, not for me.
Probably just like the length and quality of most of the jokes. They all went on a little, or most of them, not all of them, most of them went on a little too long, and I wasn't really like howling at all of them, or like even close to all of them.
Yeah.
Like, I was howling at like some of them at best, like
one was a true howl, the other were strong chuckles.
Yeah, they were just chuckles, and it's like, I mean, most of the movie we just watched it, and not only the movie was silent, so were we.
Yeah. I think my thing is pretty much the same as yours, but it's the pacing of the overall film. There are some parts where it's just titanically slow, which is
real quick,
hard to say because it's 80 minutes.
Another thing, though, is that they repeat some of the jokes.
Do they?
Yeah, like the thing where he's on the line where he's like...
when he's tweaking the thing. And
tweaking the bolts or whatever, and they reuse that joke again.
Yeah, in like the next scene. And it's one of those things where it's, it's the monotony, right? And it's driving me crazy. And you get that nervous breakdown, but it's a thing where, God damn, I wonder if they just didn't have much more of the set built, and they were like, look, we got to use the assembly line as much as we can. All right, we don't have another room.
But the thing, though, is that they had other parts of the set for later on in the movie that they only used for, like, the one gag where, like, his boss goes through, like...
The gears
and stuff.
And lunch happens. They can't work during lunch. They have to feed him through the gears, and I did laugh at that one.
That one was alright. That was kind of funny.
It's kind of funny.
It was kind of like,
the movie is kind of funny.
It's kind of funny, but it's not. I'm not howling at it. It wasn't the Marx Brothers.
It ain't the Marx Brothers. Ain't Mel Brooks. Ain't even Chevy Chase. Come on now.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, but my thing is again the pacing. This feels so slow. For this being an under 90-minute movie, I think
87 minutes.
It's so weird. I figure this would be pretty fast.
Well, here's the thing, though, is like how long are other Charlie Chaplin movies? Are they even shorter?
I think a lot of them are. I think a few of them are.
Well, this is probably the era where, because silent movies, like a 90-minute silent movie, that's kind of long.
Yeah.
But like a 90-minute talkie, well, it's not that long.
It's easier to get through, yeah.
So we're kind of in this weird area where he probably wanted the movie to be more the length of like the quote-unquote current talkies, while the movie is still a silent movie, and it kind of doesn't fit the bill,
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the other films he has on this list, City Lights, and Gold Rush, I think those are around the 80-minute mark, something like that, but I think they're closer to just a straight 80 than, like, the extra 10 they're fitting in this. And, like, they could have trimmed...
Maybe the pacing in those movies is a lot better.
Oh, no, Gold Rush is. Gold Rush is a masterpiece.
Oh, okay.
Straight up, Gold Rush is great. You're gonna love that one.
Okay.
But yeah, like this one... I'm sorry, this is kind of a short one, but overall, it's way more influence than on-screen like powerhouse.
True. And do you think they spent a little bit too much time on like the development between Chaplin and Godard?
I think so. It's because this movie is definitely getting into like the sentimentality of the characters, the humanity of the two of them, and it wants us to believe that this kind of down on his luck factory worker and this roguish girl can coexist and form a bond. Is it like a romantic relationship that's forming, or is it like a paternal one, or what? Because her father dies, and I don't think he's making a pass at her. Is he trying to form like like the surrogate father figure, and that's why Godard's in on it? It's a really interesting like relationship they're forming.
Yeah, but the thing is that they get the idea to like move into like some kind of house together after seeing like a husband and wife, right?
Yeah, but then when they move in together, they're not sleeping together. They made a point to show that.
True.
Censorship boards made a point to show that.
Well, then, it's not really the fault of Charlie Chaplin if the censorship board.
Hey, he filmed it, goddammit. But like in the context of the movie. Is that their relationship? It's a really interesting relationship they do have.
It's like a strange, element to the movie where it doesn't make a lot of sense either way you put it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's supposed to be a paternal relationship, well, that doesn't make all that much sense, and if it's not, that also doesn't make much sense either.
Well, what do you think the type of relationship it is? Is it romantic, platonic, kind of just two people surviving?
I think it's supposed to be a romantic relationship. That would make the most sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, there's no romance in the movie.
Yeah, like I was waiting. I'm like, oh, are they gonna kiss at the end? Are they gonna? Oh, the whirlwind romance is gonna kick in, and it just kind of never does.
It's just such a strange element to the movie.
Yeah, and
it's especially strange because Godard is like probably the best part of the movie.
Yeah, no, she really is. And I was looking at her and she looked so fucking familiar.
She looks like a more modern type of woman.
Yeah, she looks like an actress I've seen in like modern movies.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean like, oh, they have like the same look or whatever. I'm like, no, she looks exactly like this actress, but I can't remember her fucking name. But it's really weird.
When she first shows up on screen, she's like very striking in just like her like appearance. You know, like she doesn't look like anybody else in the movie. You know.
Yeah, and I also like how she's supposed to be, a street rat, gutter trash, but you can tell that woman has put on like all the makeup to look as glamorous as possible. Perfect hair, all that, a whole 9 yards. But yeah,
well, the hair's supposed to look like kind of greasy and unkept, but not too unkept.
No.
It's still gotta have the nice waves in it.
Exactly. All right. Chaplin's gonna have to, kiss her at the end of the movie, which he doesn't.
He doesn't.
What is this? If Randy was directing this movie, he kissed Godard at the end of the movie.
Well, I mean, we don't know what Charlie Chaplin and Godard did behind the scenes.
But yeah, so, your thoughts on like the theming of the movie? Because the themes of the movie are probably the strongest elements that are through history we can follow.
At first, I thought like the movie was made in like the late 1920s, and I thought like, oh, like of course, like this is like such a good forward-thinking like movie, like and then I found out it was made in 1936, and I'm like, oh,
Heart of the Depression.
It's just kind of talking about like the current times and whatnot. Like it's not a looking into the future as so much as it kind of like looking into the present, what's currently happening. And it kind of like took it down like a notch from there,
mm-hmm.
where it's like I thought it was like a really good commentary to kind of like it's a commentary on the subject. It's not the most like nuanced and introspective and like really getting into the nitty-gritty details of it, but like I thought it was like a decent like look into like the political climate at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He gets sent to jail for being like a communist leader.
But a communist in name only.
Yeah.
And that's enough to put you in jail. That's kind of foreshadowing to the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Yeah, true, but it wasn't like it's not the same though.
Yeah, it's not the
because it's
same.
like they were leading like a march, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like it's like they suspect him for like leading that like communist like march through the city. Now if they just like bust into his door and like arrested him, like that'd be different.
Like the Gestapo or some shit. But yeah,
like the the House Committee board.
I mean, they're not nice people. But yeah, and we do get a commentary about communism in America, the workers' rights, unions. They're directly relating like striking to it's for the workers' rights, but it's just it puts you out of work and then you wind up in jail because you're just struggling to survive, and it's this weird cycle he has.
I thought when they went on strike near the end of the movie that Charlie Chaplin was going to turn around and like scab, right? And go straight back to work despite the strike,
Oh, okay.
But like obviously it didn't happen.
Yeah, cop gets hit with a brick, he goes to jail again, because that's Chaplin's arc in this movie. Goes to work, goes to jail.
He hits a cop with a brick, he only gets like 10 days in jail.
Dude, the 30s, man. Different time.
Way different time.
Different time. Huh.
Goodness.
But yeah. Also the industrialization theme. How men just become cogs in the machine to keep the machine running for a nondescript reason. It's almost like the bureaucracy just needs to keep running. What's the bureaucracy do? We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like this factory, right?
Yeah.
What's it making? We don't know, but you got to keep going. To the point where Charlie Chaplin almost fucking dies going into the machine, and it's an interesting movie. It feels like I'm giving such a surface level like thematic analysis, but I don't know if there's that much left underneath it.
I mean, there really isn't much there. I mean, that's why it's kind of like it's just like a decent kind of surface level reading of like the climate at the time. Like he's not really digging deep into these problems here. It's one of these things where it's like I feel like the movie is kind of at fault for trying to be a comedy, because it's like you could have done so much more if you weren't, but it's trying to be a comedy and a commentary, and it's not doing a good job either.
Yeah, and it's also a thing where those thematic elements are really just in like the first chunk of the movie, and then the last, and then like a little chunk near the end of the movie, and in the whole middle of it, it's just him, struggling in jail and hijinks and things like that.
Yeah,
and the whole bit
of hijinks.
And the whole bit of the department store, we're poor, but we have a job that surrounds us with things we can never own. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting, but then it's never really explored all that much. Yeah, they're there for a little gag and then he's out. And yeah, it makes me think a little bit of wealth inequality and things like that, but it's not really enough for me to
chew on.
Yeah. It's like gum, right? Like, I get a little bit of flavor for the first like 15 minutes or 15 seconds in some cases, and then it's gone. Then I'm just chewing on rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, because I don't want to come down bad on this movie because it is a good movie.
I would say it's a fine movie.
You say it's a fine movie?
It's a fine movie.
All right. Well, for this being a fine movie and coming in
you don't even down. It's going down.
It's going down. Coming in at number 81. There, I found it. It goes down, or sorry, 78.
I was like 81. We were a little past that.
Yeah. So this is at 78. So you're saying down?
Down, definitely down.
Wow, all the way down?
Not all the way down, but just definitely down. Like it's going down with like somewhere around like Toy Story or
Yankee Doodle
Yankee Doodle Dandy, somewhere around there.
Yeah, like that. It's one of those things where I understand why it's here.
Completely understand.
Yeah, place in the culture.
Which is why it's so hard to talk about.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I know why it's here. I understand the significance, but the significance doesn't have that much to do with the actual movie.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of the last silent Hollywood films. It's Chaplin's last go as the Tramp. It's, Chaplin basically his final thing on that whole like part of Hollywood history. And it's done by one of the biggest movie stars and one of the best directors and all this other things, and it's okay comedy with some pretty interesting themes, but it doesn't all come together to make a great film.
Yeah.
But its place in history is literally undeniable.
Yeah.
Like I would be remiss if it was taken off the list.
Oh, definitely not. No.
But its place on the list this high is really awkward, because I think there's like I think The Wild Bunch is a better movie.
Well, yeah. Well, we've also come around on The Wild Bunch a little bit, where it's like the movie's probably better than we gave it credit for in our previous episode.
Yeah, and again, like I think there's probably like 10 movies like I would rather watch than this as in just pure entertainment value.
Yes.
And then there's probably another like 12 that I'm like, yeah, even the themes of these ones are stronger or more well thought out, well developed, and well articulated than this, but it's like, it's fucking Chaplin, and going against Chaplin is like going against Jesus at this point.
in terms of the
in terms of the cinematic universe.
But like, I feel like maybe we don't give like these movies enough credit on the historical basis alone.
I would say that's probably a good critique of how we usually talk about these movies, because usually we're talking about them in terms of, oh, what did we enjoy in entertainment value? Were there like themes to chew on? And that's kind of it. But, the AFI is, where's this place in film history, historical and cultural significance? That's a big part of what makes things go on this list. And
maybe we'll have to revise it a little later. We'll
think about it a little bit harder.
We'll have like 2 weightings for a list maybe sometime. Maybe not every list we do, but like maybe sometime we'll go in and be like, here we'll have like a list, like our list, how we normally weight it, and then we'll put more weighting on historical significance on another list and kind of compare and contrast.
Yeah, because I guess the only other silent film we've talked about this thus far is Sunrise, and that
Sunrise, so good.
Sunrise slaps. All right. And that movie, I don't care if we weight it for historical significance or not, that movie is legitimately a masterpiece.
Yes, very, 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 very good.
And then, compared to this, the next silent film on the list, granted, this is a comedy, Sunrise is definitely a drama, but weighting them, it's like the creativity on display, how like the two auteurs are working within the medium is so different, and it's like these are the two polar opposite ends of silent cinema. Like, you can even, like, argue that. And it's so weird, because I'm like, I really feel like Sunrise should be way up here, and Modern Times should be way back down where Sunrise is. But I don't know.
We'll have to see how it shakes out.
How it, shake, rattles, and rolls, and all that fun stuff.
Oh, goodness.
Come on, I gotta get my alliteration in here. We got a pad for time.
That's not even alliteration.
I don't even know what that means. I have 2 degrees and I don't know what alliteration means.
Oh, God.
But yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say about the movie?
Godard's performance was good. The score was pretty good. I would actually say the score is a little bit better than pretty good, but not that much better.
Would you say the score is actually pretty decently good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. The sets were really good. I think that's where a lot of the effort went into with this movie.
A lot of sets, the set design, and all that.
The props and mechanics of some of the stuff they were doing, like the automatic feeding machine or whatever. I'm sure that was kind of like difficult to set up.
Yeah.
But it's kind of all these secondary things, all these other things. It's like Titanic, it's all the other stuff.
Yeah.
It seems like it got way more work than the main thing.
Yeah, like the camera work in this, it's not that creative. It's very stick down and just shoot Chaplin doing things in a wide shot. And we'll punch him when we need to.
Near the end where they have him like delivering the plate in the crowd, I thought the camera work there was like pretty good to show like what we were looking at there.
Yeah, but like the rest of the movie, it's played on these big wides for 90% of it.
It's not anything really impressive with the camera work there.
Yeah, I mean, the sound is good, but knowing it's in 36 makes it, well, we were doing sound for a while at this point, so it's like, oh, okay, you know, it's going. I mean, I think Swing Time came out in like the same year, 1936, so... You know, it's like they were already doing like musicals and dance numbers in this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we get it. This is the last silent film, and that's like the fucking point. But yeah, I can't really be that impressed with like the sound work in this.
No.
The score, good.
Score's good.
But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I was here ready. My socks were halfway off my feet, ready to be blown off, and they came back on.
Yeah, you know, some things we didn't comment on is the CCTV. And the escalators in the movie.
Randy was freaked out when he saw escalators.
I was like, escalators were a thing in the 30s? And apparently, according to this movie, escalators were a thing.
Escalators that were innovations, I swear.
But also, the CCTV in the factory.
Oh, that one, when he was...
The security camera, basically.
When they were making that had to have been like, don't worry, this is going to be some weird sci-fi shit no one will ever think will be possible. And then, you know, we have TV, like, a couple years later.
Yeah. It's now very possible.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Like, the movie has this weird fantasy, sci-fi element to it that makes it feel out of like, our world proper kind of thing. But it still has real-world elements to it. The movie's really interesting in that way. Because the factory is a cartoon.
Yeah.
But, like, when they're on the streets, I'm like, that's, like, real...
Yeah.
Like, it's like L.A.
Yeah.
They're literally filming in, like, Los Angeles. And it's this weird, like, dichotomy of this real fantasy elements to commentate on real-world shit. But then they film in very real-world places, and it's a really muddy thing. I don't know.
It's very strange.
Yeah. It's a very strange movie, but... I'd say I did like it. I didn't hate it. I'm probably the same with you. I probably won't go back to watching it. I'll probably watch other Chaplin films before this one. If I had a marathon, this is probably the last one.
You're like, this might not make the marathon.
And this is the Jason Goes to Hell of the Friday the 13th marathon.
God.
You say that fucker till the end after you've already had a few drinks. But yeah. But next week, Randy, we're going to get a wholly different movie. We're going to get a movie called All the President's Men. And if you're wondering, it's done by one of the directors you really enjoy.
Do I now?
Alan J. Pakula, who also directed Sophie's Choice.
Oh.
Yes. This is the first Oscar.
The first Oscar.
Yes.
I've heard this name a lot, actually, but I have no real idea what the movie's about or anything. I've heard the name All the President's Men a lot.
Yeah, All the President's Men, I guess it's not even a spoiler. It's like, it is a real world true story about the newspapermen that uncovered the Watergate scandal in Nixon.
Right.
Yeah. And the movie comes out in 1976, so it's a very, very, very current issues like movie that's talking about. It also stars Robert Redford, Dustin Hoffman. This is the first Hoffman on the list. He's gonna come up again. And I'm really excited about it. I think I've only ever seen the first half of this movie before. So, I'm really hyped.
Now we're taking a little bit of a jump here, you know. We had, we had Sunrise, Spartacus, The Apartment, Wild Bunch, and Modern Times, all being like just before New Hollywood, just like before we get into like where we're gonna be at with All the President's Men.
Yeah, well, Wild Bunch is like early New Hollywood, because that's like Easy Rider's the same year, or Easy Rider's around the same time.
I think Wild Bunch is like definitely like just before. Like it's just before.
You're saying it's like, look, New Hollywood started with The Godfather. But
like I'm saying, like sure they came out the same year, Easy Rider and the Wild Bunch, but I wouldn't say the Wild Bunch is New Hollywood, right?
I think you would probably qualify it as New Hollywood film.
Would you?
I think I would. It would be like early stage New Hollywood, but it's just not one of the battle cry movies like Easy Rider and Bonnie and Clyde are. It's one of those movies where it's just like, Yeah, in retrospect, that is a new Hollywood film. It's like when we were talking about French Connection, and we were like, yeah, that's a new Hollywood film because it comes out in the 70s, it's gritty, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not, but you don't think about it, but it's like, it obviously is. I think Wild Bunch is definitely.
Well, we're gonna get a movie that's more squarely in the 70s. It's
Yeah.
gonna have, it's more squarely gonna have a different look to it than the movies we watched for like 5 movies beforehand.
Oh, yeah. And the 70s is arguably the best decade for American cinema. It's very high up there. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I can't wait. You looking forward to it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
All right. But if you wanted to keep up with that, you can check us out on our YouTube channel, In the Frame. That's In the Frame on YouTube. Comment, share, subscribe, whatever they ask you to do on there.
You know what I just realized, though? I'm sorry to interrupt you in the middle of your spiel.
Oh, my spiel.
But
my sacred spiel.
After all the President's Men, we're going to have Forrest Gump. Oh, no.
Randy is not looking forward to Forrest Gump.
No.
Oh, Randy is not a fan of Forrest Gump.
No, we're gonna have quite the episode of Forrest Gump. At least I hope so. Oh goodness.
But yeah, everybody. So can't wait to talk about all the President's Men next week. Randy, any last words?
Charlie Chaplin, not impressed.
Not impressed yet.
Yeah.
See you next week, everybody.